Welcome to another fun-filled and exciting episode of Positively Governmental. Still looking for a better name for this show with Dave and Wade. How are you guys?
Well, Dave, I'm good. I mean, I'm kind of liking Positively Governmental. I mean, it's definitely positively. I mean, we try to be positive, but it's what this show is definitely governmental.
Oh, there's no doubt, and that's really why we're here. We're here to try to let people know that you can discuss political, if you can use that term, and governmental things respectfully, and you can even differ on opinions. And Wade and I did that one time, I think, right?
Quite a few. Still,
I think
we still have different ideas. The key to success is lassoing them all together.
So tonight we're going to go over the council meeting real quick because it was a real quick council meeting, and it's almost a record breaker, but not quite. And then we'll jump into some. I want to talk about some drainage funding, and what did you want to talk about, Wade?
Strategic planning,
right.
And I want to simplify it down, but essentially, where are we going? What are we going to look like in 10 years?
Well, first thing we did is we approved, or one thing we did was we approved the adjustments to the budget for this year, and just I know we have probably thousands of people that watch this video every Tuesday, but it's not the same thousands of people every week. So we just to catch everybody up, you have to amend your budget before the end of the year because the legislative auditor likes you to be within 5% of what you said you were going to spend. To me, it's kind of it's a funny numbers game. If you intended to spend $100,000 and you're only going to spend 90. Well, then in the last minute, you change your budget to 92, and all of a sudden you don't get a negative audit finding. That's kind of
comical how it works, honestly.
Yeah, but it's the rules, so we play by the rules we're given. So Suzanne Cowart does a great job of keeping us with a good, positive, clean audit, and so that's why we make that last minute adjustments to the budget. It's not that we overspend anything; it's always moving things down because you can't overspend. Moving things down to match what you actually spent. So we approved that, and then approved the budget, which we've talked about at length. An extra the mayor asked for $300,000 in drainage. We put another $2.1 million in there for $2.4 million. And Wade, you pushed for some economic development stuff.
Yeah, and look. Kudos to the mayor. I mean, it helped that we had such a big surplus, but everybody was able to get what they. What they felt was important. And obviously that's the idea. We all come together. We all decide where we want to go, and we pitch our ideas to the other council and the mayor, and everything went well.
We got got a couple $100,000 for a street study to determine where we need to spend our money on the streets. And maybe most importantly of all, we got money for new microphones and sound system at the council meeting. It's going to affect not just the council meeting, but how it goes across Boxcast on the web presentation as well. So
and it never fails, Dave. I got during the meeting and after the meeting, I received about 6 texts. Still can't hear the audio. Having trouble hearing the audio. But hey, look, we're working on that, and we're fixing to get us a sound system that works and everyone can hear. And I'm very excited about that. I like to hear myself.
We've talked about it before. We did change the way public comment happens now. You're going to have the council discuss everything up front. We're going to let you know everything we know about something. We're going to make whatever amendments we make, and then the public gets to speak. You don't have to speak ignorant of what we might change, what we might add to the discussion. We're all going to, in good faith, tell you everything we know and express all of our concerns and positives and negatives, and then the citizens get to speak fully informed. Then the council will have an opportunity to respond to those, to consider those, have another brief discussion, and then take a vote.
So this is going to be new to us. And so I've gone through it in my head. And I'm guessing what we do is, let's say I'm sponsoring an ordinance or resolution. It'll come to me. I'll discuss the history of it and what it is. Any questions from other council members or any recommendations will then come up. And once we seem to finish the conversation, then I'm assuming we'll go with a motion to approve. If it gets a second, then it will go to the floor, or do we make motion before?
You have to have a motion before you can even discuss it at council. So it'll be a motion and a second, then you open for council discussion.
I was kind of curious how that was handled.
Yeah. So probably the biggest change for me is that I can't tell you how many times over the 12 or 13 years I've been watching City Central in action at council meetings where I'll say, well, I'm not going to oppose this. And then somebody will come up with something during the council discussion about, well, this is going to allow this to happen. I go, wait a minute. Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's going to happen if they, oh, I want to speak. I want to speak. Oh, I'm sorry, you're out of order. But you didn't tell me this was going to happen. So I don't want to surprise the public. I want them to have all the information they need before they weigh in. And sometimes you'll have 30 or 40 people show up for something, and the council may go through their little motions and discussions and things, and it may be quite obvious the council's going to pass this. Maybe those 30 or 40 people might say, no, I'm good with this. We got this, and it passes. And save a lot of drama, make government, the whole process more efficient.
Yeah. Well, and it encourages the input more because once they see, a lot of times people, and I understand, they get up there and they have intentions to speak on something, but look, it happens to the best. You get jittery, you get nervous, and sometimes you get nervous and don't want to get up and speak, or you decide to get up and you may not say what you want to say because you don't have it prepared. I mean, it happens to all of us. And so this is something that I hope will improve the whole overall process. And so I'm glad we did that. It's something you and I discussed back when we were campaigning. That, and I'm hoping we can put the audio on the website. And I still want to revisit the whole open checkbook thing. I think some of the campaign things we discussed, I'm ready to see them happen. And this is one of them. So I'm glad we move forward.
How neat would it be to open up the city budget and click on, let's say, office supplies under general administrative, and you see January, and you see an expenditure for $427, and you click on that, and you see the invoice or the paid invoice from Office Depot that says, here's what the city's buying. They bought $418 worth of paper clips. Then you have something to talk about.
Oh, my black clips.
That's right.
No, well, look, and something else that was in the budget is we're going paperless, and so that's going to be something new and improved. But now I guess I'll have to buy my black clips for my potato chips.
I got plenty for you. Saving paper. People use paper like it grows on trees or something.
Well, the problem is the trees that it grows on is limited. And now with the mills, I mean, it's just an effort to become more conscious of our resources. And look, we go through copious amounts of paper. Not near as much as, say, Baton Rouge that has 800-page agendas, but we have some pretty significant agendas sometimes. And it would be nice to not have to fumble through the papers. So looking forward to that as well. And that was Councilman Meyer. Kudos to him for having the insight to bring that up.
Yeah. So, and Councilman McKinney asking for some money to study the bringing of broadband or high-speed internet to some of the more rural areas of the city where you can't get anything but satellite. Yeah,
and that, I'm going to tell you that ties in with the conversation of strategic planning and economic development. I mean, it's all so intertwined. Companies look at those things, and the COVID situation really exposed the shortcomings of not having it.
It's also put on steroids the idea that people are going to be working from home. And I have a friend who works from home a good bit, and he's frustrated because he doesn't have high-speed internet. And it's a real problem for him for work, and it makes Central a less attractive place to be. But you made a great transition now. That segue into a strategic plan was great. Wade, why don't you run with that?
Well, the idea is you can take from your household all the way up to the city or to the country even. And it's important to know where we're going. Where do we see ourselves? If we shut our eyes and envision Central in 2030, which is not that far away, or maybe even 2035, what do we see? Where do we see our growth? Where do we see, the traffic patterns? Where do we see the flows of traffic? what does our roads look like? Where do we put our sewer? How do we dictate where we want development? One of the things that Central has worked hard on is having a master plan. And we've developed a sewer master plan, and we have a drainage master plan, and we have a traffic master plan. And, one of the things that I'm happy to know that came out of this session is Senator White helped us secure some money in relation to one of the items on our traffic master plan. I'm excited to see that starting to take hold. And the idea for strategic planning is to bring the ideas to the table and then work on the reality of how do we get to where we want to go. And it requires us to be open-minded. It requires us to listen to all the citizens and try to come, where Central 66 square miles, it's a huge city as far as geographical area. The elevation change is over 100 feet from north to south. Where do we see the center of our city? We've spoken at great length about city center and city hall, which I'm excited that's moving forward, hopefully. And the idea is that that's the center of your city, and you work your way out. And then you pull your plan together. You have to pull the people together. Do we want to limit growth north of Hooper or say, north of the Gurney, Hooper area, limit that as far as residential? I don't know the answer, but I know that we have to have the conversations. We have to look at one of the things we know for a fact is if you put the infrastructure in, you will dictate pretty much where development happens. And we have large. Go ahead.
Some observations. First thing came to mind. You said 100 feet of drop from north to south. Can we do a ski slope?
Well, it'd be a heck of a long slope.
Then how about just a zip line?
A zip line would be fun. I don't know if I could hold on for 14 miles.
So, but seriously, it sounds to me like what you're saying is, I'll put it in cabinet makers' terminology. We've got the wood. It's the city. And now we've got all the tools. We got the tools. We got the saws and the Dremel tools and the planers, etc. We have got the master plan, the transportation master plan, the sewer master plan. We got 9 or 10 master plans. Transportation.
We got some master plans.
The overall master plan, and it's not a question of what can we do within those master plans. It's what are we going to build? What's the cabinet going to look like?
Where do we want to see it happen? That's right.
Yeah. So you can do a lot of things.
Going to happen. It's going to happen. If we turn our back and walk away, it's going to happen. There will be organic growth, but you're limited on what type of growth you want if you don't put the things in place to encourage the type of growth you're looking for. And
an example I use from time to time, and I don't know enough about Bunkie to really say this is accurate, but I would think, I've driven through Bunkie, if you said to Bunkie, look, I got a plan that can bring you some big box stores and 1,000 houses, there wouldn't be much discussion at the Bunkie City Council, I don't think. It's like, bring it on. We need to grow. And it really doesn't matter what we got to do to grow. Central is in a much more enviable position in that we can be selective of how we grow, where we grow, how quickly we grow, and we can do what's going to protect our rural lifestyle while protecting our infrastructure or creating infrastructure and protecting our tax base and making sure our schools stay good.
Correct. And that part of that's the part of the strategic planning that we need most, because we know we have to have good schools. We know we have to have good roads. We know we need to minimize the traffic burden. I mean, one of the things that just came up, and the chief actually was doing a news interview today when I passed by there about the golf carts. And I said it jokingly at the meeting with Councilman Roy, but the reality is Central is a rural city, and we still have a rural mindset. And it's not uncommon to see people riding their golf cart down the road, in neighborhoods. And maybe thinking a little further out the box, when we talk about connecting neighborhoods, maybe that connection is not for automobiles. Maybe that connection is for golf cart type traffic. Maybe we look at the model that you see in other cities where they allow the golf carts on the roads.
Let me tell you a
To
story. My daughter, when she was about 31, she's 35 now, uh, 30, 31, she and her husband moved to the Atlanta area for his job. He left for a couple of years. And he was going to do a lot of traveling so they could live anywhere in central Georgia they wanted to live. And they actually almost moved to a community, I can't remember the name of it, because they were a completely golf cartable community. You could live anywhere in that community and get to anywhere else on a golf cart. They had they had paths that were not on the streets. They had, I imagine they probably had overpasses and things. They had that, and that's all she had to tell me about that town. And this is a young couple, and that's who we're looking for. We're looking for some of
well,
the.
look, and we went to Destin, and in Destin, every road in Destin except the major highways is for golf carts as well as automobiles. So they commingle, and you cross the major highways on the golf cart at red lights, and then you're back on the 25-mile-an-hour streets. And I'm not saying that that's the future of Central, but I know that connectivity and being able to navigate the local streets as a citizen is a big deal. And if one of the ways to do that, to where we limit the concern of the multitude of traffic, is through changing our laws for golf carts, then I think was something we got to consider. So it all comes together with strategic planning. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. I know that we have the tools for the planning as well. Our city services contractor is such a great asset. I mean, we utilize them, for the basic tools, like a car. I mean, we put it in drive, we go forward. But I mean, they also have seat warmers and the cruise control and automatic wipers. And there's so many things that are available to us through IBTS that we're just not utilizing. So I look forward to working more with those guys and their experts and the resources they have available to help us look into this. So I'm excited.
Good deal.
And I'm excited about the other thing, and it's what you want to talk about, is drainage. And I tell you, I had a conversation with a citizen. He's really, really pushing the core, and I love to see the passion. They had a meeting, a group of them, I think, with the mayor, and they're really holding our feet to the fire, which is what we need. We cannot become complacent. We can't think, well, just because we avoided this event this time, that, hey, what we're doing is good. We're good. And that, yes, what we've done has been working, but it's, one of the issues, and you understand this well, is the roadside ditches are not only a way to get water from my yard to the next tributary, but they also, in storm events, serve as storage areas. And a properly dug ditch can store a heck of a lot more water than one that's not properly dug. And so I look forward to discussing what you have on your plate for tonight, and that's drainage.
Well, we did get my approach to the whole drainage issue for the budgeting was that I had asked for and gotten most of $1 million each of the 2 years, and first 2 years in office, for routine drainage maintenance, but we only spent $300,000 each year. So in my book, we're about $1.4 million behind. You can never spend too much money fixing drainage and doing preventative maintenance. And the preventative maintenance just hasn't been done, at least on a hyper local level, actually probably nowhere in the city of Central in probably 30 years. So the budget this year requested by the mayor $300,000 again, and that would, that's not a small amount of money, but compared to what we have in the budget available to us, that is a small amount. So I asked for $1 million for this year, plus I want the $1.4 million we didn't spend the first 2 years. So there's $2.4 million in the budget. And then I went to IBTS, and the mayor during the budget workshop made it clear that it's all well and good to schedule to fund these projects or to put money in the budget for them, but who's going to come up with the projects? So each of us who brought something to the council that night said, okay, well, Councilmember McKinney said he wanted something for for the internet access for the rural areas. So he was tasked and said, okay, well then bring me an idea. And I think you were asking for some of the economic development economic development expenditures, and they said, bring us some ideas. So well, I was tasked more or less with bringing ideas for drainage spending. And after speaking to IBTS, there are seven, actually six, but one is split into two pieces. Let's call it six major projects that IBTS has identified that need to be done. It's off-road drainage. It's draining entire neighborhoods. It's not roadside ditches. It's more infrastructure. Larger infrastructure, and it's a capital outlay issue, and it's probably over $2 million worth of work. So my intention is to, first meeting in July, ask for another $2 million out of our drainage savings or our general fund surplus. We've got some $20 million that not earmarked for anything, and earmarking some of that for drainage wouldn't offend me. So I'll ask for that $2 million to be put into capital outlay, in addition to the 2.4 we're spending for local maintenance. I hope to get the council support on that. I've also got emails into the mayor, and he made a comment to me Tuesday night that he's working on his list. I want to know what his list is, because if the mayor's got another $1 million worth of projects that IBTS didn't identify, I'll sponsor an ordinance for $3 million, because we simply do have the money to do it, and drainage is a priority.
Yes, that's for sure. And it's such a priority. And I always stop and talk to our drainage crews, and when they're working, I'll stop and shoot the bull with them. And after our budget meeting, I'm friends with a lot of these guys. I've gotten to know them. They're like, man, I can't believe you were banging on us last night about, digging roadside ditches. Like, whoa, no. I think you guys are doing great. I want more guys doing great. I want more work being done. And whether it be through subcontractors or through another crew, I don't know. It's not up to me. I'll definitely help put it together. But at the end of the day, the mayor ultimately is the one that says yes or no on how they handle that. But what I would like to see is, in addition to when Miss Smith on the corner calls about her ditch being dug, I think we need to look at a more holistic approach and be proactive inside of our watersheds. It's something we've talked about. It's something our drainage master plan discusses. Drawins Creek is not nearly as big as Beaver Bayou. What's the one up by Hub Road? Hub Bayou. Yeah, and then there's another one up on Blackwater that goes. That's not a huge. You got Blackwater and Beaver, which are two very large watersheds.
Drawn and Hub and
there's
Shoe
one
Creek.
more.
Shoe Creek.
Yeah, Shoe Creek. And so we should be taking these in stages and figure out some type of cycle and be working to take care of those in a cycle. And we know, okay, well, we do this year and we start on the next one. And then we get through all of them and we start again. It's kind of like mowing grass. You mow it this week. It's kind of like mowing grass when I was a kid. We had 2 acres and we had a riding lawnmower and it broke. And so mom went and bought a Craftsman push mower. And it's kind of like you start cutting on a Saturday and you keep cutting and you cut all week. When you get done Friday up by the house, you start on Saturday again. I mean, it's very similar.
Well, let me date myself, Wade, here. When I was 9 and 10, I used to mow our grass with the old rotary mower.
The old real mower.
With the exposed blades that would cut your hands off. But it didn't have a motor. You were the motor. You push that sucker gears. And it spins.
Yeah. And it didn't cut Bahia that well.
Oh, no. This is subdivision territory. So
anyway,
just to let everybody know, we are going to push as hard as we can for funding for drainage projects and spend money wisely and as quickly as we can do so effectively. I don't believe in throwing money at a project or just throwing money at a problem. but there's large enough problems that there's no lack of good projects to undertake. And to your point, this is not any negativity on IBTS. They are. I was talking to David Ratcliffe the other day about some of the drainage issues, and he mentioned that they weren't really positioned to do some of the things that need to be done on some of these larger projects. And I said, David, a contract that we issue to do $2.5 million worth of work, they're not going to be there when the storm event comes and there are 19 culverts that we know are problems that need to be cleaned out. That's where we need IBTS. We need IBTS on the hyperlocal things, on the emergency things, and their contract doesn't call for them to do that $2 million worth of work. They have a $4.5 million contract, and built into that is some roadside drainage, and they do all that roadside drainage every year. So this is no lack of performance on their part.
No, and I'm gonna tell you, the relationship that I have developed with our team at IBTS is one that I think it's important in any business customer relationship. That it has to be beneficial to both parties. And the idea that we want to extract all we can out of IBTS and they lose is a terrible idea, because that ruins a relationship. And the same thing is we don't want to pay more for services than we need to, because that, hurts the relationship. So what I've always stressed and told them, and obviously again, it's not my call, but I do have a great relationship with our team, is I would love for them to do the projects that they can do efficiently and, help their bottom line and help the city. But if it's something they can't do efficiently that has to be subbed out, then it doesn't make sense for us to have them do the subbing and then us pay the 7% or 10% profit on that anyway. That's where the mayor managing contracts comes in handy and is more important. And so it needs to be an all-out effort. Now, I'm not saying if IBTS, if they have a civil engineer in our office here that wants to oversee projects that we sub out to make sure it's being done, then maybe that's where that relationship takes us. I don't know. But one thing is for certain. Whatever we spend our money on, I want to make sure it's done the right way. And one of the things that you and I talked about, and me and some of our team members, is our roadside ditches. We may dig a few yards and properties, and then we get to a culvert that has the invert at the wrong height. And maybe we need to look at putting some money into that fund that says, okay, well, instead of not digging those ditches to the proper depth, which is what we're doing now, we're just digging them to where they'll not hold water and get out to that next invert. Maybe we dig them to the depth they should be dug based on the original plan, and we fix that culvert that's the obstruction.
Yes, and people point fingers and say, well, the homeowner put that 30 years ago, and EBR approved that. I'm sorry. We inherited everything EBR did. When we said we want this city, this 66 square miles, we took every historic problem that's ever been created, every unpermitted culvert, everything that ever happened that we now have to deal with, it's ours. And if we got to replace a culvert and it's going to cost us $4,000 to put the right culvert in, if it's a 12-inch culvert, it's supposed to be a 15, we put the 15 in. We got to fix the people's driveway and make them whole. But it is our job, and that's why people pay taxes, and that's why having $51 million in the bank kind of puts some monkey on our back to get it done and get it done right.
Well, and look, as a city, we've taken the steps to do that in the most efficient manner. We changed our culvert law as far as our code, and we followed DOTD specs. And right now we have a minimum 15. I was discussing with our team, maybe we need to go to a minimum 18-inch culvert size. And with the new rules, 18-inch A2000 plastic culvert is not near as expensive to install, and it 20 to 22 foot lengths. So when you go to replace a driveway culvert, you don't have 3 8-foot pieces of concrete pipe that then fail over time. You just put one joint down.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we have done everything in our power to make the process more affordable and efficient for the city and the homeowner. And so I just, look, it takes some aggressive thought processes, and I hate the fact that a political party has hijacked the word progressive, because progress is something that is natural and necessary. But the reality is, we've taken a very progressive approach at how to solve some of these problems. And I don't mean that in a political sense. I mean it what the word was intended for. So
okay, so y'all heard it here first. Wade Evans is a progressive. I'm running to Facebook. I'm gonna post it on Facebook.
I actually am a full-blown libertarian.
Minute 31 and a half.
I'm sure to show up.
Of course.
That's fine with me.
Anything else on the radar for anybody?
No, I'm good. What did we have? We got 2 listeners.
Oh, we've had 5 and 6, 7. But I tell you what, some of these get 500 and 600 views during the week. So
well,
this
is
not going unheard. At 8 o'clock at night is maybe not a great time for people to tune in live, but I attended bees all day, and my hair's still wet from cleaning up.
I was going to say this is probably about the best time for me, and I have one of my 9-year-old is at my mom's, and my 13-year-old is at Camp Estruma, and you just saw the 16-year-old. I can't do a video without one of them walking in the frame. So the 16-year-old managed to walk in the frame this week. So
I made my 31 and my 33-year-old go back to their own houses. And but did I mention I do have a grandson, Emrys? He's almost a year old. Did I mention on this show I have a grandson? I mentioned that every Monday
mentioned
night
on the show, but I know you adore him. So
I work it in every Monday night, so we'll find a way to mention him once per show.
I think it's changed you, honestly. I think you've become more subdued.
Don't you tell anybody that.
You did it on film.
I had a friend of mine, an old guy who's in his 80s, 20 years ago, long since gone. We're playing golf with he and my uncle, and he was a real curmudgeon kind of guy, and he said something. And I said, you know what? At heart, you're a real softy. He looked at me serious. He said, if you ever tell anybody that, I will beat the tar out of you. I worked 65 years to get this reputation. I'm going to keep it. So.
Well, I give my old buddies I have breakfast with a hard time, and it seems to be whoever the joke du jour is on that day. But Chuck Entremont is famous for telling me, "Just live, boy. You just keep living, and somebody's going to be saying the same thing to you." Yep. But anyway,
I think we've ridden this horse as far as we can ride it. We'll be back next week with more of our award-winning effort here. We've been nominated for several awards. We'll give you details on that later.
Yeah, I'm going to print out the certificates after we get off the internet usage. My broadband, I'm paying for 1 gig, but I only get about 700 of those other things.
I tried that 1 gig thing, and I was getting like 450. I'm paying for 400 now, so
Yeah, well, good deal. Well, look, man, thanks.
Take care.
Thank you all for watching.
All right, bye.
Bye.